Welcome to Medical Terminology, Unit 14. We're going to be talking about the endocrine system. Our objectives for this section include understanding the basic anatomy of the endocrine system, what is the function and purpose of the endocrine system. We're going to talk some new word parts, so please make sure that you have referenced our word list that is available and that you have that in front of you. We're going to break down some new terms together so that you can check yourself and see how you are doing in terms of grasping breakdown of new words. I'm going to talk about a couple of common diseases of the endocrine system. And then we are going to look at some abbreviations that are common. Let's take a look at the anatomy of the endocrine system. Okay, so some of these pictures are a little bit simplified in a little bit more of a clip art version. But what I want to demonstrate here are the major components that you should be able to pick out when it comes to the endocrine system. So just being able to recognize the actual organ and its general location. So let's get started. We're going to start at the top and work our way down. So let's start with the brain and the couple of structures in the brain that are related to this system. So towards the front, or that frontal lobe or frontal portion of the skull, you do have two organs that are related and they sit quite close to each other. In fact, they touch each other. So the first is an organ we call the hypothalamus. And this is where most of your hormone control and most of your endocrine system control starts from. And kind of coming off the bottom portion of this is the pituitary. Again, this has been enlarged, right, so that you can really see this. It certainly is not quite this large as it's drawn to scale here, but we're going to take an even closer look. So I've pulled out just these two organs here for you. And this one at the top that is labeled as the hypothalamus looks a little bit like a W. Okay, really starts the production of most of our hormones. Off the bottom is the pituitary, and it's divided into two sections. There's an anterior and a front section, and a posterior and a back section. But they do directly touch each other. And so the hypothalamus always affects the pituitary. Towards the posterior side or the back side of the brain, we have a very small gland, and it's pretty tough. I'm going to pull it up a little bit. I've drawn it as very circular. Yes, there are some bumps to it in real life, but it's a pretty small organ towards the back of the brain, and it is the pineal gland. Okay, so that is the third portion of the brain that has to do with the endocrine system. Again, pronounced the pineal gland. Okay, so I've kind of taken away the color here just so you can see approximately. You'd have to cut the brain in half to really see this, but it does sit towards that back side or that posterior side of the brain, whereas the hypothalamus and the pituitary are far more anterior in the brain. Okay, let's move down the body a little bit. And so we're going to move down into the neck, and sitting right over the top of your trachea, just above your two collarbones, is this organ that sits a little bit on both sides. That is your thyroid gland. Okay, your thyroid gland. If we kind of pull out this thyroid gland and look at the back side, you are looking at a little bit of the backside of the thyroid, but what you should notice here are these four little circular dots that sit on top of the thyroid gland. Now, again, this is on the backside, so you wouldn't see this from the front, but we're very particularly talking about the little dots that are now being shown in this diagram. Those are known as the parathyroid gland. Okay, we're going to break down that word a little bit later, But when we talk about the parathyroid, it is those dotted components. The rest is, in fact, the thyroid gland. Let's move a little bit further down into the chest. And sitting right over the aorta, so just over the heart, is this little bilobed, right? So there's two lobes associated with it, thymus gland. It does play part of the endocrine system. You're also going to see that it plays a part in some of the other body systems that we talk about. But that is the thymus gland. We're going to continue to move down into the abdomen. And sitting on top of each of your kidneys is a little triangular organ, and we'll see this close up in just a moment. But this little triangular organ is called the adrenal gland. All right, so here we see the adrenal gland, and it is very triangular. The inside is a little bit more dense and dark. The outside tends to be a little bit lighter in color. There is one on top of each of your kidneys. The outside ring is referred to as a cortex. So it's really not just the adrenal gland, but the outside or outer ring of any organ is referred to as the cortex. So in this case, it is the adrenal cortex. And the inside, denser looking portion is called the adrenal medulla in this case. But most organs, or a lot of solid organs, have a medulla. So the medulla refers to the inside portion of an organ. Okay, so tucked a little bit behind the kidneys and up against some other organs, we do have the pancreas. The pancreas is involved in multiple body systems, so not just the endocrine system, but it plays a very clear role in the endocrine system, as you'll see with some of our diseases and some of our other processes and sections. We're going to pull this forward. It does look like it has this body portion, that's that thicker portion towards the left. It almost looks like an upside down check mark. And it does kind of narrow out towards the right there as a tail, and it becomes a little bit more pointed. I always think of it as an upside down check mark. All right, let's keep moving down. All right, again, in a simplified format, if you are female, you have ovaries. Ideally, there are two, one on each side of the body, but they do produce hormones, so they are considered part of the endocrine system. And if you are male, there should be a set of testes. Again, there are two, and because they are part of hormone production, they are classified with the endocrine system. Okay, so here again is this body as a whole and all of the organs associated with it. Again, they are a little bit larger to scale just so that we can clearly see the approximate location and what they look like.